everybody. Hey now, and hey now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new edition of Hot Takes Over the Line. Thank you for being here, as always. Thank you for taking the time to look us up. I know it's not easy to find with big tech suppressing us. We had our episode yesterday pulled off of YouTube and Rumble, which was probably partially my fault because I think I played some copyright video. I didn't know that. I'm like, it's on YouTube already. I can't play it. But whatever. The audio version is still available. So if you're not seeing an over-the-line hot takes, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's a bunch of other ones. Podbean, Castbox. I don't even know what any of those are. But the show is available there, so you can check that out. If you're watching, I guess it depends on when you're watching this podcast, but as of right now, as of the recording of this podcast, we are currently waiting on the GOP presidential debate. And the feeling I have leading up to this is a weird one. Like, normally I would be extremely excited as a political nerd. I like to keep up with this stuff. I'm kind of underwhelmed at the thought of watching tonight's GOP debate. And if you're watching this after the GOP debate, let me make a prediction. It's going to be a snooze fest, and nothing's going to be accomplished. But you'll have a couple winners, and those winners will then turn around and try to raise a lot of money, and then the following day they will brag about how much money they raised. Because whoever wins this debate tonight will have the donors saying, hey, that guy looks good. I bet he can win. Let me put some money in his campaign. And they're not doing it out of the generosity of their heart, out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because they hope that guy wins and then can give him some favors on the backside as president of the United States. That's the way politics works. That's really what's ruined politics. And I want to talk a little bit about that in a moment. First, let me tell you about my boys at Wild Hair Jerky who are bringing you this portion of the show. Man, this is it. This is the cream of the crop. This is the best of the best beef jerky on the planet. They bring you the Over the Line podcast because I would not allow just anybody to do this. I would not allow this podcast to partner with just anybody. And I am lucky to know Brian and his wife and the team over there at Wild Hair Jerky because this stuff is so amazingly good. I just ran out of Wild Hair Jerky. You know, Brian sends me these care packages, and I try to slowly eat my Wild Hair Jerky so I don't run out. But I couldn't hold back any longer. I had one last bag of roasted garlic and herb, which may be the best one he has, and I just mowed through it. I told him I kept it closed for a long time, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to open it. I'm going to eat a couple pieces. Next day, I'll eat a couple pieces. I opened the bag, and I ate the whole freaking thing. I can't help it. It's like what was the chips back in the Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. That's the deal with Wild Hair Jerky. They are on the verge of being wide open, ready to sell, ready to ship this jerky to you. But I need you to do me a favor in the meantime. I want you to go to this Facebook page, Wild Hair Jerky. Look them up on Facebook. Find this cute little rabbit logo with the serious look and the pinstripe suit. Click their page and go to like the page, follow the page, and let them know, hey now, we appreciate you guys sponsoring the Over the Line podcast. Again, best jerky on the planet. I'm not lying. I wouldn't attach my name to a product if I didn't know it was the real deal. Because the last thing I need is me advertising a beef jerky company. You try it and you're like, oh, that stuff sucks. I'm never taking Andrew's advice again. I don't need that in my life. I need y'all trusting me. And you trust me on this, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Best jerky, bar none, that I've ever had. Buc-ee's. I used to love Buc-ee's beef jerky. I don't buy it anymore. I got no reason to. Buc-ee's beef jerky is less superior than Wild Hair Jerky. You heard it here first. Take it to the bank. Wild Hair Jerky, sponsors of Over the Line. So the debate tonight, tomorrow. This is the story, and y'all remember this tomorrow morning. When you open your sleepy little eyes tomorrow, and you're getting ready for work, and you flip on the news to see what's going on, they're not going to be talking about what happened the night before at the debates. They're not going to be talking about the winners and the losers and how Ron DeSantis did or Vivek Ramaswamy or Mike Pence. They're not going to be talking about that. They're going to be stationed in Fulton County, Georgia, as Trump is set to turn himself in on yet another bogus election-related indictment. Yet again, when Trump turns himself in, it's 24/7 coverage, wall-to-wall coverage. Trump picked Thursday morning to turn himself in to take the spotlight away from everybody else. He's not going to the debate, but he's already won the debate. He even sent out a Truth Social post. He said, nobody has ever fought for election integrity like President Donald J. Trump. For doing so, I will proudly be arrested tomorrow afternoon in Georgia. God bless the United States of America. He is proudly, he says, being arrested. And he's being arrested because why? Because he questioned the election, which translates to, he's trying to secure our elections. He's fighting against election fraud and being arrested for it, as many of the other co-defendants are as well. This is what's crazy to me, is that there was, can I say this on YouTube? I don't know if they changed the rules yet. The F word happened in the election big time, and we all know it. But instead of the people that committed the F word being the ones arrested, it's those that called it out and tried to fix it. That's who's being arrested. The irony in that is unlike anything I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of irony in politics. I've seen a lot of hypocrisy in politics. Never have I seen irony and hypocrisy at this level. More over the top than I've ever seen. On top of Trump stealing the headlines tomorrow morning, he also did an interview, a sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson, which is going to garner a much larger audience than Fox News ever will tonight. Donald Trump said on Truth Social, my interview with Tucker Carlson will be aired tonight at 9 p.m. Sparks will fly. Enjoy. 9 p.m. for those of you on my time zone, that's 8 p.m. As a matter of fact, Tucker Carlson just sent out a tweet moments ago, and I think instead of 8 p.m. Central Time, it's going to be 7:55 Central Time, which means they will start this, they will post this interview 5 minutes before the debates start. Smart move. You post it 5 minutes before people start watching it, and within 5 minutes, they forgot a debate was even on. Here's Tucker Carlson just moments ago making that announcement.
On Sunday, Donald Trump announced that he will not participate in tonight's Republican candidates debate, hosted by Fox News in Milwaukee. Whatever you think of Trump, he is, as of tonight, the indisputable far and away frontrunner in the Republican race. We think voters have an interest in hearing what he thinks. So when Trump approached us about having a conversation for a far larger audience than he'd receive on cable news, we happily accepted. That interview will air tonight in this space at 8:55. We hope you'll watch.
Tucker on Twitter has got to be one of the smartest moves that I've seen any conservative do in a long time. Any conservative media personality, should I say. It's been genius. And Fox News hates it. They hate it so much. What's funny is, here's a little behind the scenes for you radio guys that listen to the radio show. We got a notice today, and probably specifically for me, about airing clips from the debate and how Fox News, this is all coming from Fox News, by the way. It's not coming from people inside our building. It's coming from Fox News, and they said that you cannot air any clips from the debate without mentioning Fox News before every clip. You cannot use more than 3 minutes total of audio or video from the debates in one program. You cannot use any of it after 7 days of the debate. Fox News, I tell you what, let me just read it to you. Again, this is coming from Fox News. This is how utterly desperate they are. From Fox News, they say that Fox News exclusive rights to the debate. You're advised to respect Fox News exclusive rights to the debate by not broadcasting, transmitting, selling, licensing, giving, bartering, exchanging, or otherwise disseminating the debate or any portion thereof, regardless of whether Fox News supplied you the debate or if the debate excerpts where you were supplied to you by other sources. Permission to use the debate is only granted if the following restrictions are adhered to. An appropriate, unobstructed, on-screen credit, for example, courtesy of Fox News Channel, must appear in the upper left or right-hand corner of the screen during the entire debate excerpt, and the debate excerpt must be introduced with an audio credit in a debate on the Fox News Channel. On radio, each excerpt must be introduced with the same audio credit. I mean, can we say Fox News is maybe a little self-conscious at this point? Everybody knows it's on Fox News. You must credit every single clip that you play. It says, during the 7-day period described in paragraph 4 below, you may not air more than a total amount of 3 minutes of excerpts from the debate in any one program. The excerpt footage must be taped directly from Fox News telecast or obtained directly from Fox News and may not be obtained from any other source such as satellite or other forms of transmission. Additionally, only excerpts that have been telecast by Fox News in their entirety may be used. Number 4, under no circumstances may any excerpt of the debate or portions thereof be used beyond the 7-day period beginning August 23rd and ending August 30th. No archiving is permitted. The debate excerpt may only appear in regularly scheduled network and local news programs in which news stories constitute the main feature of the program. And then it says you may use the debate or excerpts thereof on the internet only by way of the video embed function on the foxnews.com video player for as long as Fox News shall make the debate available on its video player. So you can't even, for those of you that do podcasts or do things on the internet, you know, we got one thing in radio, you've got to follow certain rules as far as playing other people's stuff. But on the internet, they're saying you can't even play a clip on your YouTube channel without it being a direct link back to Fox News. Is Fox News struggling that bad that they have to copyright every single minuscule piece of video or audio that they broadcast? It's not even going to be a good debate. You must give Fox News credit. We got to get the word out. Our ratings are low, and we have to have people know that Fox News is still a thing. Honestly, you know, in radio, we see a lot of that stuff, but I was shocked to see that. I'm like, wait, Fox News? I mean, this is like some two-bit news channel that's just trying to get its name out there and get some recognition. Like, you're Fox News, but you're acting like a startup company that just wants to build on some big events. Wow. So who are the jabronis that are going to be in tonight's debate? Well, here they are. You got Tim Scott, you've got Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, big old sweaty Chris Christie, Mike Pence, Asa Hutchinson, and then this guy. whoever that is. I think that might be. Okay, I don't know who it is. Hold on. Oh, that's Doug Burgum. That's Governor Doug Burgum from North Dakota. My bad. I didn't remember who he was. So those are going to be the 8 guys, and Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis will be side by side in the middle because they're the top 2 pollers. And there's a couple that didn't make it. You've got Perry Johnson and you've got Larry Elder. They didn't make the cut, and Larry Elder claims that they're going to be suing the RNC to stop the debate, which I don't know. I don't know how you're going to stop it because as of this recording, it starts in 4 hours. So good luck. I think they're just trying to prove a point. But those are your 8 that are going to be there, and I'm interested to know what you guys think is going to happen. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube or you are watching on Rumble, I want you to comment on this video and let me know, and it may be after the debate. Let me know what you thought about the debate. I may use some of that on the radio show tomorrow. But my main point today is this. Those of you that are like me have been a fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. And Vivek Ramaswamy has absolutely, for one, come out of nowhere, but 2, he said all the right things. He's absolutely been on top of it. From talking about the globalists, talking about, the central banks, the WEF, all the way down to election fraud and defending Donald Trump, the weaponization of the DOJ. Now, most of the candidates are talking about the weaponization of the DOJ, but none of them are just coming out and saying that there's election F word and you are persecuting your political opponent. They always stop short of that. Vivek Ramaswamy has come out and he said, hey, this is political persecution and it's election interference. He says that he wants to be president, but he doesn't want to beat Donald Trump that way. He doesn't want Donald Trump to get knocked out of the race because of a communist-style Department of Justice arresting their top political opponent. All of those are great and wonderful. I, as most of you know, have been standing back at a distance and saying, yeah, I like this guy. I've played him on the show several times, but you don't know enough about him yet. I warned people about Ron DeSantis as well. Nothing crazy has come out about Ron DeSantis, but he's making it clear to a lot of people that he might be in over his head. And people are starting to understand some things. We get too antsy on a presidential candidate that has no experience, it's always going to turn around and bite you. But Vivek, as time's gone on and I've kind of sat back and let things unfold, I've started to see things about Vivek Ramaswamy. There was a situation where from Paul Soros, which is the brother of George Soros, had given Vivek Ramaswamy a grant at the tune of $90,000. It was a grant for like Young Leaders of America, like a college scholarship grant type of deal. And he got it. He was 24 years old when he received that grant. And he was confronted about it. People found out about it pretty quick. And his explanation was, hey, I was a young, not even mid-20s young adult, and I was offered $90,000 to go to Yale to get my degree. He's like, I couldn't turn that down. I needed that to go to college. And I didn't know who Paul Soros was. I didn't know anything about George Soros or the WEF or any of that stuff. That's what he said. But then recently we found out that he has been very successful, even in his early 20s, making $1 to $2 million a year, which if that's the case, it doesn't seem like you needed $90,000 from a Soros organization in order to make your way to college. So that had people scratching their heads. They're like, okay, we're going to get queasy if there's ties to Soros with Vivek Ramaswamy. People are going to get queasy. That was strike number one. Then some excerpts started coming from his book, a book that he had written in 2022. And it was related to Donald Trump not conceding the election, saying Donald Trump lost and he didn't concede, and that was wrong. That Donald Trump should have let it go and then lived on to fight another day. Go on to the next election and try to win next time. That was the right thing to do, according to Ramaswamy's book. There was a podcast done with Candace Owens and Rogan O'Hanley, known as DC Drano, on Twitter. And I thought it was fascinating because they brought on Vivek and they asked him these questions directly. It's been the only time thus far that I have seen Vivek ask these questions straight up and given him the ability to answer. I'll play it for you, and then I'll let you know what I think of Vivek's answer when we get back on the other side.
Yeah, so, I also was, like many, surprised at Vivek's rise. And I saw at the Turning Point conference, people were like cheering for him. And I'm like, who even is this guy? I've never seen a critical interview. And so I started to dig because, as people are pretty well aware, I'm a Trump supporter, have been since, 2016. And, the first thing that came across my mind is, why is this guy running against Trump as Trump is being indicted? And then I started to dig a little deeper on, Twitter, and I came across some passages from your book. And I don't know which book it is.
Let me interrupt for a second, and I'm going to try to keep this at a minimum. Watch his facial expressions as certain things come up, and listen to the way he starts off his response after Rogan O'Hanley, DC Drano, reads him excerpts from his own book.
It's one of the two, but it talks about January 6th, and it says, "It was a dark day for democracy. The loser of the last election refused to concede the race, claimed the election was stolen, raised hundreds of millions of dollars from loyal supporters, and is considering running for executive office." I'm referring, of course, to Donald Trump. Do you think that the 2020 election was fair? Do you think that Joe Biden got the most votes in American history, or do you think 2020 was rigged?
So I'll answer that. I think 2020 was rigged specifically by big tech, but I just want to say something at the outset because this is the first time we're meeting.
2020 was rigged by the media, and that was it. Nothing else. It was just the Hunter Biden laptop being suppressed.
Is that I've actually been a longtime fan and of your tweets particularly, and I understand that I did a little bit come out of nowhere, right? I was in the business world. I had no public footprint at all until 2020, and then really 2021 when I stepped down from my job as a CEO. So I invite the scrutiny. Some of it's bad faith, but then I take someone like you, and I understand your heart is actually in this for the country as opposed to some of the other trolls. And so that's why I'm engaging with this directly.
And maybe it's just me being hypercritical as a radio person, but when you are asked a question and you use the first couple of minutes to compliment the person asking the tough question or talking about something that's irrelevant to what was asked, for us, that's a form of, give me a few minutes to think about what I need to say to respond to you, so let me just blow some smoke up your backside to prep this, make you feel comfortable, and then maybe you're more likely to accept my answer. He needed time to think about what he was going to say. Maybe he didn't even know that question was coming. That's possible. I don't know. But I didn't like that. And again, maybe I'm being hypercritical, but I'm just I'm analyzing this from a distance.
So let me be really clear about something. I've written 3 books in the last 18 months. That passage has now been floating around Twitter. I'd encourage you to read the book, or at least even the chapter that came from. Those lines were tongue-in-cheek, in part because those were the opening words of the chapter. It was a dark day for democracy. The winner refused to concede the election, raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Those exact words. I'm referring to, of course, Stacey Abrams. That was literally the opening paragraph of that chapter. And it turned out that those words were literally borrowed from a description of somebody else criticizing Donald Trump that I then cut and pasted. So, look, I have detailed messaging on all of this, but you read that chapter and you read that book, it's easy for someone to airlift something out of Nation of Victims without reading the whole book. It was literally a satirical chapter that started with those words that someone had used against Donald Trump with Stacey Abrams as the punchline. And here's the thing about the books I've written. I wasn't writing them with any intention of running for president, right? And so otherwise you'd read them and can this be misquoted? No. These are, if I may say so myself, I would say intellectual books. These are not candidate books, okay? These are books that were written in part of a career, 3 books in 20 months. Candace, and probably you, I don't know if you've written books as well, understand what it takes to write one. I've written 3 and they're not candidate books, are deeply introspective books. So much so that actually even some of the things that I said in Woke Inc., I've moved a little bit from today. What did I say in that book and I stand by it today? 2 things that I think are really important points. The 2020 election was stolen principally by big tech. The Google search algorithms that suppressed actual stories that you could have read on Donald Trump. Hunter Biden laptop story, suppressed on the eve of an election. There's definitive data showing that that actually would have changed the outcome of the election.
Okay, so here's the thing. I was sitting here thinking, okay, I haven't read the book either, so maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe that was satirical and he was trying to pretend like, hey, Donald Trump did all these things, but at the end it's like, no, it's actually Stacey Abrams, which all of that is accurate. But that right there, the election was stolen primarily from big tech, that's what drives me nuts. Because this is the one thing that has had me and so many other people disenchanted on every other GOP candidate, because none of them are willing to come out and say what actually happened, the full truth. Even if big tech is not suppressing, you still got to beat the other stuff. You still got to beat the mail-in ballots. How you going to do that? Look at all the suppression of the media. Donald Trump still got 75 million votes. You think suppression of bad stories about Joe Biden got people motivated to the tune of 81 million to vote? No. That's not how politics works. So Rogan O'Hanley goes on to press Vivek Ramaswamy more on the issue of election fraud. Here's his response. Again, pay attention to his body language and the verbiage that he's using.
My main point, right?
Yeah.
So let me preface by
Fair
saying I respect Vivek for coming on and having this discussion, knowing that I'm a very vocal critic. My main point is that Vivek does not believe there was actual election fraud with the ballots, that he can watch something like 2,000 Mules. Did you see 2,000 Mules, Vivek?
I've seen part of it, I have to admit. I did not finish it, but
I
did see
highly
it, part of it.
recommend you go watch it, because it's probably one of the most important documentaries in recent history that showed massive systemic election fraud across this country. And to me, as a vocal supporter and just a voice for the MAGA base, I will say, if you do not believe that there was election fraud beyond what big tech suppressed, that they are not muling around hundreds of thousands, if not millions of ballots, that if at 3 a.m. in the Detroit TCF arena, they didn't drop off hundreds of thousands of ballots on video, that the Gateway Pundit has exposed, that they were banned from Twitter, that there was no Republican supervisors, that we saw vote spikes in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania overnight in the dead of night, that they shut down Georgia for a water pipe break, and then suddenly they pull out ballots out of under the table and start counting. If you don't think that there is election fraud, in my opinion, that is disqualifying for anyone running in the GOP, because this is not politics as normal.
Preach, brother. Preach, brother. Come on, brother. Preach it. Preach it, Brother Rogan. That's what I'm talking about. That's what's got to be said. And each one of these candidates have to be pressed on this issue.
Let me just say one thing to that about my view.
Is aggressive. They are
I want to
coming
just
after
jump
us.
in here. I just want to jump in here. And so first and foremost, I will say that I believe that there was election fraud. And I've made that statement over and over again.
I do
and
too,
I've
for example,
tweeted that.
yeah.
I mean, by
Yeah, I do now. And I love Candace Owens, but I don't want to get into her part. It's irrelevant. This is what has me squishy on Vivek. And I want to make sure you guys see this as well, because you feel the same way I do. One of the things about doing this podcast and doing the radio show it has allowed me to understand how my line of thinking aligns with so many of you. Because a lot of people, whether it's radio or TV or podcast, political commentators, they want to be squishy on these issues. Why? Because they don't want to be wrong. So they'll ride the fence, and they'll see which way the wind's blowing, and maybe go a little bit this way and a little bit that way. But for me, over the course of my, year and a half at Talk 99.5 and 4 years, almost 5 years of doing this podcast, I have stayed consistent on how I feel about all of this stuff. And you guys let me know how much you appreciate it and how much you agree with me. I'm lucky in the sense that my values and my point of view matches yours. But I think it not just matches yours, but it matches so many people across this country. And the number one concern for all of us is that issue right there and getting that fixed. Because if you don't get that fixed, and no, I'm not talking about media suppression. If you don't get the other thing fixed, everything else is irrelevant. Making sure you've got a country to leave your kids and your grandkids, irrelevant, because there's not going to be one. Worried about climate change or anything else, the economy, it's irrelevant. It's all going to be irrelevant if you don't get that one issue fixed. There's not going to be anything there for anybody. I'm Andrew McClain. Make sure you check out AndrewMcClainWho.com. And until next time, see you, cuz.